the City, they have it's a challenging run of fixtures now ahead in the Premier League and the Champions League between November the 23rd and December the 21st, just a few days before Christmas. City have got 8 fixtures now to prepare for, four at home, four away. Starting with this weekend's game against Spurs. I just want to get your thoughts, Stephen, now on maybe each of these games and where maybe City can pick up some points during
Yeah,
this
sure.
tricky run. So we'll start with Spurs. What are your thoughts on that one? Do you think?
I'm pretty confident about this one, even though
Yeah,
City have had a bad spell. I do think a little bit of fitness, post-international break, being at home does get you going. Yeah, I think the home comforts will kick in. I think Spurs are far too erratic. They've got the tools to trouble City, but I don't know. I think this would be very Spursy to have the tools to trouble City and then sort of not do it at the same time. And I think this will be look 2 weeks of Pep thinking about it on the training ground. Some players back to fitness that I don't think we would presume would be right now. I think there'll be surprises, and I think it'll look the lineup will look a lot stronger than it did against Brighton, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm presuming the City will win this one. I think it's going to be a tough game, but yeah, I'm pretty confident.
and how important as well. Just mentioning this that City do win because you look at
Yeah.
Liverpool, they're 5 points ahead, and they've got a favourable looking fixture away at Southampton at the weekend. If they were to win that, City were to drop points, obviously they go further behind. So it is important, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with Liverpool coming up, at Anfield as well, so they
Yeah.
could run away with it if we're not careful.
Yeah, and well, before that Liverpool game, City play Feyenoord in the Champions League. That's another important fixture, if you like, because City lost 4-1 at Sporting in their previous Champions League game. So, what are your thoughts on that one? Do you think City will win that one?
Yes, at home again.
Yeah,
The Sporting was painful, but I do think the fact that it's at home. I mean, it's really hard to judge massively because it's City right now is such a mixed bag because of the injuries. It's genuinely it's just like just rolling a tombola and picking out random players. I never know who's fit from week to week, so it's hard to get consistency. But you would think of all the fixtures City have got in the Champions League, Feyenoord at home is a lot easier on paper than Juventus away. I don't know much about Feyenoord to be fair, but I presume City's quality will be a little bit too much, and they have to win this because we've got Juve and PSG away after that. And uh, look, there's no guarantee that City are going to go through in the top eight, which they need to because an extra two fixtures would be catastrophic for City right now. So I expect Pep will take it seriously, and I think we'll be okay there as well.
yeah. And then after Feyenoord, just a few days later, I think it's the first game in December. Arguably their toughest game, as we mentioned, then away at Anfield against Liverpool, top of the table Premier League clash. Do you think would City take a draw in this one? Do you think, given the start of the
Yeah,
season?
absolutely,
Yeah,
they would do. I mean, Liverpool are different now. It's yet to be seen how Liverpool. It's weird this one because in previous years this is an immediate red flag for City because it's Liverpool at Anfield. But that was under Klopp, and I think anyone would admit that even though they've started brilliantly, they've started differently, under Arne Slot than Klopp. And I suspect some of the muscle memory will kick in for them, and they will be a lot more aggressive than they probably usually are under Slot. And I think the occasion will lend itself to intensity naturally. But they do play a little bit differently. They do, they're a little bit more pragmatic, I would argue, than under Klopp. They are more happy to keep the ball and play the mood of the game. And I know Liverpool fans who are very happy, of course, but they definitely acknowledge that the football is it's calmer, I would argue, and it's not necessarily playing into what's made Liverpool successful over the last several years, where they've been a little bit more aggressive in big games. But we'll see, they might have the intensity to go for it. I didn't feel like they were good against Arsenal, don't get me wrong, but Arsenal they were nowhere near as comfortable, against Arsenal as they had been for the rest of the season. I think that was because it was a team who could play to the same strengths as them. So I think it'll be a very different game to the usual Liverpool Man City games at Anfield because I think the team's mentality has shifted from both sides, to be fair. City aren't the same side now as they were even 2 or 3 seasons ago under Guardiola. So I am not as nervous as I am usually. And once again, look, we're talking about a game a week and a half away here, and who knows who's going to be available. City could be then by that point fielding the side of Edison, Vardy out left back, Diaz Stones. Then it could be Kyle Walker a little bit fitter or Rico Lewis with some rest. Maybe even a Kanji could start right back down if you really want to lock it down. And at that point, then you could have Kovacic, Bernardo, De Bruyne, Foden, Savinho, Haaland on the pitch, and Grealish maybe, and the whole team looks a lot different, a lot different to right now. And if it is something like that, I would actually fancy City chances. You would take a draw right now, but the the makeup of the team could be so dramatically different. And I do think Liverpool's football, while I'm still very nervous because the quality going forward of Nunes, Salah, I'm not going to say I fancy our chances fully, and they've still got so much quality once again out wide with pace, which is where City are weak. But it's different. It's a different Liverpool. So I think the dynamics. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be obviously a Liverpool win here. It could be, but I feel like the way they play now is different, and I think that might play into City's hands a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning as well that Liverpool, just a few days before that City game, have got a massive game in the Champions League against Real Madrid. So two massive games to prepare for
Yeah,
in just a couple of days. So it'd be interesting to see how they come out of those ones. If they were to come out with winning both, obviously be massive. But yeah, that's just worth mentioning for their
yeah, of
Liverpool
course.
big game there. After that, for City, fixtures continue to come thick and fast for them, and they return to the Etihad then to play Nottingham Forest just 3 days later. Forest have, of course, been flying in the Premier League this season. Do you think, home win there for City, even though it's possibly a tougher game than many would have predicted at the start of the season?
That could be a real banana skin for City. That one actually. I know we know Forest obviously have done really well, but it's the way that they play that makes it difficult. They're so comfortable to sit back, and I hate and love teams that are so they've got basically the way they play suits any kind of game. Essentially, they're very happy to. It's just adaptable because they really do just hit the wings. Like Aina's in cracking form right now. Alanga, Hudson-Odoi, Moreno out wide. It's so much craft and skill and energy there. Hudson-Odoi, I think, is brilliant. By the way, I think he's Champions League quality, and currently his form is there anyway. I think he's a fantastic player. And I'd take him to City actually in a heartbeat. Likewise, Morgan Gibbs White. And then you've got a genuine goal scorer in Chris Wood up top. Thankfully, he wasn't a genuine goal scorer a couple of years ago when he missed a few sitters as City went on to win the league. Was it last season, the year before? I can't remember. But he's such a reliable player. And then I'm a massive fan of Milinkovic as well. Massive footballer, a beast, a guy who absolutely loves defending. And at the Etihad, Murillo, Milinkovic, if we're going to throw crosses into the box, those guys will stand there all game winning headers. And then they'll look to hit us on the counter with Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, and Wood will be there. And it reminds me a little bit, they'll probably take a very similar approach to how Brentford lined up against City, last season when they got might have been season before, can't remember, once again, where they got a lot of joy, hitting Tony, this time C Wood, but then using the pace out wide, the likes of Buemo and Visser. So I do think this could be a really, really hard game, and I wouldn't be surprised if City drop points here and it ends up being a draw because I can't see them not scoring. So many sides these days are just. I do actually agree with largely that sides are better. I think everyone's got better, and I don't think it's the fact that City have dropped standards. I think they have a little bit, and I think maybe you could argue other teams have too. But look around, and they're all so organised. They've all got such quality players that can play at the highest level, and everyone's got them. Everyone's got players that can play in the Champions League, in my personal opinion. And they've all got wildly experienced managers, and Forest are a great example of that. Like you look around, most teams would take one of those players for their squad, even not if they're going to start. It's just really good, and I know they did lose to Newcastle, 3-1 at home, but against City, hmm, I think we might just win, but it's going to be tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw.
Yeah, I think Forest have, built a pretty strong squad now this season. They've spent a lot of money, but they've together quite a good strong squad under Nuno. I think it's
Yeah,
interesting as well to see how they, against that Liverpool game that they won earlier in the season, 1-0 at Anfield, they sort of packed the midfield in the first half and made it really hard for Liverpool to break
yeah,
them down. And then the second half, they switched it up. They brought on Hudson-Odoi and Alanga, got them with the pace on the counter attack and out wide, and they won the game with that. I think Hudson-Odoi scored the winner. So it'd be interesting to see if they maybe take a similar approach to City. Yeah, I think it'll be a tougher game maybe than people expect in that one.
yeah.
Um, Shortly after that, then City will play. It's arguably their easiest fixture in this run of 8 games. Although it won't be a cakewalk at all, which is a trip to Palace, who've been struggling. But City should be favourites, you think, to win that one?
You'd think so, yeah. Usually away at Selhurst Park is a bit of a tough game for City too, but they have been struggling, and I think they're currently like 18th or something like that, aren't they? I don't know. Either way, they're having a tough time, and they've not really replaced the impact of Olasey, who's becoming a genuine world star over at Bayern, and Eze still, fitness issues and so on. Often they've got some quality players, we know that, but it's tough right now for Crystal Palace. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the slightly easier trips for City away at there. Once again, it depends on fitness and injuries for everyone involved there, and it's hard to look too far ahead because by that point, City could have either won 3 games in a row or lost 3 games in a row. So I don't really know where the mood will be, but that one on paper, I find that one usually I would say Palace away difficult, but I feel more comfortable in that than I do Forest at home.
Yeah, I think if you'd have this fixture for City towards the end of last season when Palace were flying, it'd be a really tough fixture.
Exactly, yeah.
With Lee mentioned, like Lee saying, there's some of the big players. I think Eze is currently injured, and I don't know if he'll be back fit for then. He maybe will be, but they are a different team this season.
Mhm.
Glasner's maybe a little bit under pressure. Would he be sacked by that City game? Not sure. Obviously there could be a manager bounce if he was to be sacked. I don't know. It's
Yeah, of
too early
course,
to
yeah.
say, but yeah, you'd fancy City on paper to win that one. Shortly after that, then City will another away game. They'll travel to Turin for a Champions League game against Juventus. Tricky game there. A bit like the Liverpool game. Do you think City would take a point in this one in the Champions League?
Yeah, I've not been paying attention to how they've been playing, but I know they're currently sixth, Juve, and it's a fun Serie A this season. Looks like there's a lot of competition there. Uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's 2 points in it between the top six, which is crazy. Juve currently sixth, but one win and they could be first. So it's a very close Serie A. I honestly don't know how much to be playing because I've not been paying attention to Serie A that way. But surely it's never easy going away to Juventus. Like I'm looking at their previous Champions League fixtures. They did actually lose at home to Stuttgart 1-0. And that was okay. To fair, it was 0-0 for a long time. Then a red card for Danilo. That's the ex-City Danilo, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, and then a late goal. So they're going to want. Obviously, I think they need some points here on these points. It sounds weird. I'm not used to this new format at all. I don't think I ever will be. They need some points on the table. They did beat. Try to look at their fixtures. Seeing how they're getting on previously. This is the thing about this new. I'm going to rant a little bit. I never know who anyone's playing because it's not in stages. Like I feel at this point we all know who everyone's playing because we've
yeah,
absorbed the groups mentally. But now right now it's such a random, disconnected bunch of fixtures. I'm just not a fan of it at all.
yeah. They got two wins, one draw, one defeat, 7 points from
Oh
their
yeah,
their
they drew
four
last time, didn't it?
games.
1-1.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
11th in the big 36 team table. So there's still obviously now it's the halfway point. Once they play City, they'll have had another game further down the line. So yeah,
I
obviously,
think City were going to win actually.
yeah,
Yeah, I think they'll win that. Yeah, I think City will. At that point, I'm expecting City to be back in the swing of things, and people will be. I'm hoping people will be going, oh, why did we ever doubt City because they've won four in a row at this point, and things look swimming.
yeah. So then after that one, there's two more Premier League games before Christmas then, and they're tricky games. First is small matter of the Manchester derby against Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. Amorim, of course, has already beaten City this season in charge of Sporting. It's at the Etihad though, big boost there. So again, City favourites for this one. They've got decent record
Yeah,
against Man United in recent years.
but who knows how United are going to look by then? That's 6, 7 games
Yeah,
away. Genuinely no idea. Of course, how we saw how they played. His side played against Sporting, and he was actually quite critical of them, saying 4-1 wasn't really reflective of the game. And he's sort of right. City shot themselves in the foot a few times, and if they've taken chances in the first half, that ends 3-0 and no one questions it. Maybe 3-1. I'm going to concede. Let's be honest. But yeah, I don't. I just really have no idea. Like how they're going to line up at that point. United. I don't think they'll be recognisable within 2 months from now. Was a month away, isn't it? City, you would think at home once again, we should be able to take advantage of at that point. Are still very wet behind the ears. United under Amorim, but it depends on fitness. If City's injury levels right now are as high then as they are, if not worse, who knows? Then you'd think a United side with skill and pace at wide, Garnacho, Diallo, Rashford, Fernandez always has a good game at City. Usually, he's quite adept at sort of picking up those little holes between the midfield and the defense that City leave so willingly these days. Yeah, it depends how they adapt to the formation that you want to play. We just don't know what that looks like yet. But I'm always confident going to a derby at home. But this is a new Man United, and I'm hoping they're going to be shocking. But they could be quite good by then because annoyingly got a feeling that he's actually quite a good manager, this guy. So let's see if he can handle the Man United curse.
yeah, you're right. I mean, interesting to see how quickly they settle into this new system under Amorim. but you would still probably fancy City just depending on the fitness issues and
Yeah.
available, etc. And then yeah, the last fixture in this run is a trip to Aston Villa on December the 21st. A tricky trip. City lost this game, I think 1-0 last year. Bit like the Liverpool one. Do you think City will take a point against Villa, who are still pushing for the top four?
Depends where the table is at that point, you know.
Yeah,
A point could be good, it could be bad. I mean, it's like if you said we'd beaten Liverpool, Anfield, and a point against Villa, wouldn't seem such a big thing at all. It's yeah, once again, it's so far ahead. It's very hard to judge what that would mean. I don't think a point away at Villa these days is ever going to be a bad result because they are a very good side, and even though like they're not having the greatest start to the season, they would have been hoping to be around that top four, and they're currently down in ninth as we chat. But that's literally there's 1 point in it. They're sat in ninth with 18 points, and Chelsea are third with 19 points. So they could be anywhere between 13th and second at that point, or third or whatever. So we don't really know how they're going to look by then. But Villa are another side that fits into what we were chatting about earlier, who are the teams that were traditionally below the top four that have just improved and are strong and have got such a great coach. And in the collection of players that they've got with City's current problems, Morgan Rogers, Tielemans, Onana, they're going to bully City's midfield right now. They will do. That's the issue I've got. Right, Rogers will his pace. He's going to run past Bernardo, Gundogan, Kovacic very easily. Onana will destroy that midfield as well. That's the thing I can be honest about. And they've got control into elements with a lot of experience. And then they do have the pace out wide with Leon Bailey. And they do have the goals with Ollie Watkins. So I'm not confident going there at all. It depends entirely where the fitness is, where the form is, and all that as usual. But I am, yeah, I'm cautious. We'll see how it goes. Villa haven't been the same side, but they got so much quality, and it's the kind of quality that City don't want to play against.